Welcome to The Real Tea. I'm your host, Tammy Murphy, broker owner of RH2L, bringing Miami Valley real homes to love.
And I'm Elle Sollenberger to give my perspective as a home buyer.
We're going to give you the key to Miami Valley real estate. All right, so I think now it's time to get you on a roll because there were so many times when we were looking at houses or you'd send me a text message and I would just like roll laughing because you have just this way of saying what you think. But, you know, the reality is that we got really close during this process.
Right.
Spent a lot of time together. And so I think being able to communicate and have fun and enjoy, you know, what was going on really makes a difference. So I'm going to ask you some questions. You just say whatever and however it comes to your mind, and we'll go from there.
Here we go.
All right. So what do you think was the most enjoyable part about buying a house?
I liked looking at houses. I liked going into the different houses and seeing just how they were set up, and especially the ones where everything had a reason. Like, it wasn't just a window seat, it was a bench, and you open it up and there was storage. There was like a pantry that was right off the kitchen. And I feel like in older homes, there were stuff that just doesn't make sense. Carpet in bathrooms being like one of the major things. Why do you put carpet in bathrooms? I don't know. But I feel like in the newer homes, people have really thought out, and even in the older homes that have been redone, why everything is the way it is.
Yep, absolutely.
I just loved like looking at the different. I have no interest in buying again, but I've been looking at Zillow like, that's really cool.
Yeah, good staging ideas, decorating. I mean, like all the things you can find just by looking at some of the property photos and everything like that.
Yeah.
And seeing it firsthand because, you know, it's not that we're going to take you out and just show you a house because you want to see what it looks like and you have no genuine ability or interest in buying. But the pictures are online, so people do check that out.
Yeah, and I'm not wasting anybody's time by looking at pictures, especially when I didn't know how to decorate my dining room. It's got tall ceilings. I've never had tall ceilings in a dining room before, so what did I want to do? And it took, like, you know, a couple of pictures to get some inspiration to figure out exactly how I wanted to do it.
Yeah, and speaking of pictures, like, that's your favorite subject, isn't it?
Pictures. Whew. Here's my tip for this episode right here. Your photographer matters. If you have somebody who doesn't make you make the bed, that's a problem.
Yep.
There's been a couple that I've seen recently where there is a picture of the closet open and there is a hamper with the kids' dirty underwear there. Nobody wants to see that. I feel like it almost devalues the home in the buyer's eyes or the potential buyer's eyes because, look, the people before you were slobs. All you have to do is make a bed. It doesn't have to be, like, perfect, but it should be put together and declutter, too. Because if you have so much clutter in this house, it just looks so much smaller than the house actually is. And people can't see that you actually would want to live there.
Right.
Because all of your shit is everywhere.
And that was the basis of most of the text messages that I would get is like, did these people not know they were getting photographed today?
Right.
Like, what is going on?
Right. And especially if the photos are really dark and you just can't tell. Right now, I know that there's a new thing where they put a floor plan, and I absolutely love that as the buyer, the potential buyer, because you can kind of walk the floor plan and you see, and from a picture you see like, oh, how does this wall fit in? Oh,
Right.
It's actually backed up to the master bedroom. Okay.
Right. So do you prefer the virtual tour where they do the walking through versus just the slideshow that you really don't know? Like they're taking the static images and doing a slideshow?
I like seeing the individual images because you can zoom in and you can see details. I also really like I don't know what it's called, but
Matterport.
Yep, there's like a circle and you jump from circle to circle like on Sonic.
Yes.
Yeah.
On Sonic.
That's what it looks like.
Yes. So Matterport is one of those virtual tours that physically is taking you to, but they're doing a 360 angle of each of the rooms, and then it's stitched together to give you this comprehensive, where literally you could feel like you're walking through the house. The upgrade of that is a VR version where you could put the goggles on and actually
Oh, wow.
We don't have that in our area, so don't get too excited.
Yeah.
But I'm a big proponent because I do believe that Matterport, that type of virtual reality, virtual tour of the home, more than the static, but I get your point on the static, is that people want to feel, is there room and how does that flow?
And I feel like you do need to have both, because there was one that I was looking at the other day that just had that. And it was really hard to see details on the pictures.
Yep, yep. Good point. What was your least favorite part about buying the house?
Kind of the unknown. So you hear all of these horror stories in real estate, and we woke up the morning of closing and they decided they didn't want to close, and there was a lot writing, I have to have somewhere to sleep, and I have my kids and they need somewhere to sleep. So it's just kind of the stress of it all. But I feel like if you have a good realtor, if you have a good mortgage person, and if you have a good relationship with the other side, and not so much like your friends, but you have a good working relationship, then I feel like that kind of lowers the stress level.
Right, and I think that comes back to communication from both sides, is that
Yeah.
seller knows what's going on because the buyer and the buyer's agent and seller's agents are communicating, and as long as that's there, everybody has comfort that we're going to get through this, right?
Yeah.
If there's something that happens, okay, let's work through it. Ultimately, the end goal is we want to get to the closing,
Yeah.
and everybody walk away that the way they're expecting to.
And one of my other favorite parts of the whole home buying process was I didn't know what area we wanted to live in. I knew where we didn't want to live, but I didn't know there were these hidden neighborhoods in cities that I've lived in my entire life that really had character. And, I would drive through and I would be like, man, I wish just a house would show up in this neighborhood.
Yes, yes. And that's one of the best things for me is that I get to explore all these little neighborhoods and everything because every client is different in what they're looking for. And it's like, well, let me go see what's here.
Right.
So it never hurts to go out on a ride.
Yeah.
Okay, so we kind of maybe touched on this. I know you did do a lot of looking online, still looking online. What did you notice the most about the process online?
What do you mean?
Did you notice that there was all bad pictures or that there's this trend for higher elevation of...
One of the things I noticed is that people use wide angled lenses and make stuff look a whole lot bigger than it actually is. There were some of the homes that we walked in and I was like, where's the rest of it?
So a little misleading.
Right. And you can tell after you've been in a couple of those houses. You can say oh, that house is not as big. Or you look at the square footage and it's 900 square feet and it looks like it's a mansion.
Right.
Doubt it.
Right.
You know.
Well, and that's one of the things I say is if we're looking at a 1,200 square feet and it says there's 5 bedrooms, they're very small bedrooms. They're not going to be
Yeah.
big, right?
Yeah.
So you just have to, once you get a basis, then you do realize some of those things.
Yeah. And I've realized that the homes with the better pictures were on the market and off the market. That they were really the ones that everybody was going after. That there was 15 showings the very first day, where there were some homes that, didn't have a made bed in the pictures, and that sat.
And I mean, we still have open houses going on, but not really like we used to have.
Right.
I think that we see some virtual tours, but not like we used to. I feel like we see some professional photographs being put up on listings, but not like we used to. We see a lot of people who are doing the DIY version of these things. And from your perspective, I think they're shortchanging themselves because if it's days on market costs you money,
Yeah.
then why are you not putting more effort in, whether it's the client who's not willing to have it done or not be in condition for it to be done, right?
Yeah.
Or the maybe the person who's in charge of that marketing not doing the marketing more.
Yeah. Or are these people serious?
Yeah.
Whether is this a part-time realtor that we're never going to be able to get a hold of, so closing's going to be a disaster? Or is the actual seller not really wanting to sell? And that's why, are they court ordered to sell or
Yeah.
something like that.
Or feeling the market out to see. Ooh,
Right.
do I get my
Those
price?
questions do come up
Yeah.
in your brain when you see something that's just not professional looking.
Right. Right. Let's see. I know you know a lot about this process. You've got such a wealth of people that that are in this industry and everything. But did you learn anything about the process when you were trying to buy and sell at the same time?
Yes, and it was mainly just how the pieces fit together. Because I know that was our big question, like, do we sell first and then, move into a rental? And there's not short-term rentals in this area. So how does all of that fit together? And do you have to ask for an extension? Or can you close? And what is the time frame? And how does it change? And,
No stress.
no, not at all. But that was just how I feel like everything came together, and it was cool to see. And I kind of, jumped in with both feet with our whole situation.
Yeah, awesome. So what is your best advice that you would give to somebody who's looking to buy in this type of market?
I would start by getting pre-approved and see what you're even eligible for. Because if you want a house that's $400,000 and you're only approved for $150,000, you're going to have to mentally compromise with yourself before you even go look. Or every single house that you look at is never going to meet your expectations.
Right, for sure. Okay, so what would be your best advice to give a person who was interested in selling in this type of market?
Pick a realtor that you trust and do what they say.
I don't pay her to say this stuff, you know?
No, she does not pay me. But if you don't have a good relationship with your realtor, they're selling your assets. If you don't have that good relationship, then it's not going to go smooth for everybody involved.
It's true.
And I think that's really where the sale starts, is when you find a realtor that can sell your house for what it's worth in the time frame and meet your needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've had friends that their realtor's part-time and works another job, and they've missed out on listings before because it was listed at 9 a.m. and was under contract by 3, and their realtor didn't get off work until 2 o'clock, but they were able to go see it. They had the time, but it's because of that. Not like dogging part-time realtors or anything.
Right.
But you have to have something that fits for your situation.
For sure. And obviously, we all know that there are situations that come up and, you're going to be out on vacation or you've got a conference in most cases or, whatever. I tend to really want to work towards what the client's needs are. And if somebody comes in, and they say, I need to be in a house by the end of July. Okay, it's the middle of May. Like, we are on a time crunch. We have no...
You've got like 2 weeks.
Exactly. To see and get under contract means we are looking, and if you aren't here, then I'm looking for you. So important to know. I adjust my personal life based off of what my clients' needs are. So sometimes I have something that comes up and I'm going to be away on vacation and I'm sorry, but it is going to be, but I'm going to prep any of those clients that I'm working with at the time to say this is what's going to happen. But I'm on call during the process for what I can do. And that goes with the territory.
Well, and if you trust your realtor as the buyer, if you are on vacation, they can go FaceTime and walk through a property and tell you what they think because they know you at that point and they know what you would like. And I believe you did that for us a couple times.
Yeah. And I've also got good friends who are fellow realtors in the business that if I am away, I can make a phone call and I can get somebody to step in so that I don't have a client who's missing out on an opportunity. And I've had to do that on conferences where it absolutely fit the bill and the client had to see it and we knew it was going to go quick. And an agent friend went out, showed the property for my client, and we were able to submit an offer. Still didn't get it, but, she did get to see it. So you do what you have to do. Let's see. Well, I think it's mute to ask this last question. I mean, even you as an experienced few buys and sells under your belt now, would you ever go alone without a realtor?
No. And I think the whole NAR lawsuit has kind of changed that. But as a buyer, that's paid for by the seller. So why not have that added benefit?
But it is going to come up for a change.
And that is going to change.
And it's going to be potentially where buyers are really having to come out of pocket for this. You found value in the services that were provided, whether I was representing you as your buyer's agent or when I was representing you as your seller's agent. And hopefully that's what others have found in their experience, is that it was a value add. In our case, going all the way back, you can talk about how much money you've bought and sold with me, and I'm also looking at how much money equity we were able to get out of the deals that we negotiated when we negotiated that benefited you.
Right. And what's crazy is, they've kind of all not stacked on top of each other, but I was able to buy my current home because I have bought my other homes.
Yeah.
And you never know what you're going to do now that affects the future, and I think that's really cool.
Absolutely. Anything else that just really, ticked you?
There was a couple times where people would just have something, so overvalued. And I think that having the right value, or undervalued, and they want you in a bidding war, as a buyer, that's annoying. Mm-hmm. Value your stuff at what it's going to be and what you're going to accept, and then don't have people writing sob letters and I really want my kids to raise our puppy in this backyard. Things like that.
Yeah, and I think when I was taken back most was when a listing agent said to me, and I'm trying to get a client in who has a budget. Most people are going to have a budget when they're buying a house. You've got a price in mind, where you want to be, what you want to pay. And especially on a first-time buyer, they are going to be starting out, so maybe they're not at a $300,000 price point. Maybe they're at $125,000 or $150,000. Doesn't make them any less important to deal with, but when you put the listing in the system and it has a dollar amount on there and it's day one, and somebody's calling to set up a showing for that, and they're told from the get-go, that's our starting price. Well, if we came in and we liked it and my client's going to write an offer for that amount, what do you mean that's the starting price? Well, it's going to go up from there.
Which is crazy, because when you go to Target and you get Doritos, $4.99 is not the starting price of the bag of Doritos.
Right. We don't live in a barter system at that point, right?
Yeah. So I feel like when people do that, they're just kind of doing everybody a disservice.
Agree. And I think that, yes, if you have a lot of interest and it comes out that then you have a bidding war, that's a different scenario than just right off of the bat, this is our starting price. I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this is what you've agreed to sell your house for.
Yeah.
If we come into and write the offer for that, this isn't now we get to haggle. To be fair, the buyers have to be prepared to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And they can't say, well, when I come through and I do inspections and I'm going to do this. There's a process. And yes, there is going to be other points of negotiation. But the first one, if you set it off on the wrong foot and you say, well, this is our starting price, we're not going to accept an offer that's right at it. Why aren't you accepting an offer that's giving you what you said you would sell it for?
Right. And I think you see a lot of that, especially in the last 4 years here. But you see because of the real estate TV shows, mm-hmm. and where people are trying to emulate that here, and this isn't California, and these aren't $1 million.
Yeah. I mean, even on our $1 million listings, this still isn't California.
Yeah.
And we are not on production when we're doing this, and there is paperwork involved. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, and I guess we'll see what else we can find to talk about on another show.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for joining us today on the Realty Podcast. If you enjoyed the knowledge and entertainment today, please subscribe and share with your friends. We will be embarking on a journey that bridges the gap between realtors and clients, uncovering the heart and tea of real estate.